Su Hong's physical evolution began, causing intense red energy and glowing nodes to map across his newly strengthened body. He meditated on the floor of his dorm room while a fierce vortex of spiritual energy swirled around him. As the process finished, he let out a sigh, with steam radiating off his refined form. Inspecting his physique, he was amazed by the sheer, overwhelming power his physical body now possessed. His system interface appeared, revealing that he had unlocked the Overlord body, which the system described as the existence with the strongest physical strength in the world. He noticed that the physique was currently at spirit rank 0%, meaning it could still be upgraded. This left him wondering what kind of heaven-defying form it might evolve into next. Eager to test the limits of his extraordinary new body, he grabbed his jacket and his black spear. However, the moment he gripped the spear's shaft, the metal crunched and cracked under his hand. He stared at the weapon in shock, realizing that his casual grip was now strong enough to snap a highly durable C-rank alloy. He briefly panicked, lamenting that C-rank spears were incredibly expensive and that he had just ruined a fortune. Fortunately, he quickly remembered that he had actually looted this spear for free during his time in the wilderness. Knowing his old equipment could no longer handle his strength, he decided he must gather camp contribution points as soon as possible to exchange for an A-rank alloy spear. Striding confidently out of his room into the hallway, he planned his next move, contemplating if he could easily earn those points by training with a weight vest of a few hundred kilograms. Inside the camp warehouse, a crowd of trainees gathered in awe around Wang Tiantuo. Despite carrying a massive 3,000-kilogram weight, Wang Tiantuo effortlessly leaped into the air. Watching from the sidelines, Lin Xinghe and Xiaonan were amazed by his monster-like strength, noting that an ordinary Tier 1 martial artist could only handle a fraction of that load. Observing the warehouse feed from the monitoring room, Grandmaster Qin Tianli praised Wang Tiantuo's barbarian god body. The conversation then shifted to Su Hong. Bai Mu asked how they should address Su Hong's flawed path of cultivating 7 guidance techniques simultaneously. Knowing that directly confronting a proud genius would likely backfire, Qin Tianli decided to make Su Hong realize his mistake the hard way. Qin Tianli asked instructor Linze about the progress of a secretly planned night raid meant to ambush the trainees. Linze smiled wickedly, anticipating the despair of the students who mistakenly believed they could finally relax after the entrance exam. To execute his lesson, Qin Tianli specifically ordered Linze to send a powerful Tier 1 high-stage martial artist to overwhelmingly defeat Su Hong. Once Su Hong was utterly crushed, Qin Tianli planned to step in, explain the impossibility of his cultivation method, and force him to give it up. The staff worried that pitting Su Hong against an opponent with over 400 vitality and 5,000 combat power might permanently break his spirit, given his much lower vitality stats. However, Qin Tianli coldly dismissed their concerns, stating that if Su Hong's resolve collapsed that easily, he was nothing but trash. Meanwhile, outside in the camp, Su Hong overheard other trainees rushing to the gravity room to watch Wang Tiantuo train. Preferring to avoid the crowd, Su Hong headed into the now-empty equipment warehouse, planning to check out the commotion later. Inside the equipment warehouse, Su Hong picked up his smart scoring bracelet, confirming it was the device used to calculate his contribution points. As he explored the room, he walked past the lighter equipment racks and stopped in amazement at a rack holding 10-ton weight vests forged from super-heavy alloy, wondering who could possibly wear something so heavy. Curious about his own limits, he tried on a 10-ton vest, but quickly realized the immense weight severely hindered his speed and stamina, making it impractical for long-term training. He decided to swap it for a 5-ton vest instead. After rapidly leaping around the warehouse to test his mobility, he concluded that the 5-ton load was perfectly suited for his current physical state. Thinking about his competition, Su Hong wondered how much weight Wang Tiantuo and the other top-tier geniuses chose to wear, assuming that since they were at the Tier 1 high stage, they must be at least as strong as him, if not stronger. Hoping to learn from their cultivation methods, he left the warehouse to go observe them. Outside, a large crowd was gathered in front of a pyramid-shaped gravity room. The trainees were astounded that Wang Tiantuo had entered the facility without taking off his 3-ton weight vest. A monitor displayed Wang Tiantuo straining inside the room under 2 times normal gravity, which the crowd noted effectively turned his 3-ton vest into a grueling 6-ton load. Standing at the back of the crowd with his arms crossed, Su Hong was genuinely surprised to hear that Wang Tiantuo's base vest was only 3 tons. Considering that weight to be incredibly light compared to his own comfortable 5 tons, Su Hong realized he had completely underestimated the sheer toughness and superiority of his newly evolved overlord body. Su Hong approached his former schoolmates, Chen Shan and Li Tu, and asked why they weren't going into the gravity room to cultivate. Looking defeated, the two explained that the massive gap in strength between them and the top-tier geniuses made them feel completely inadequate, and they feared the embarrassment of being compared to them if they trained right then. Su Hong sighed and patted one of them on the shoulder, disappointed that they would let their pride and fear of comparison stop them from improving. Ignoring their warnings to wait until the crowd left, Su Hong confidently walked toward the brightly lit, pyramid-shaped gravity room. The gathered onlookers immediately began to mock him. Assuming he was trying to arrogantly surpass Wang Tiantuo's record, they called him brainless and shameless, especially since he didn't appear to be wearing a weight suit. Unbothered by their taunts, Su Hong stepped through the entrance, reflecting that such expensive, heavily funded facilities were usually restricted to elite aristocratic families, making this a rare opportunity he refused to let slip by. Inside the high-tech room, Su Hong evaluated his limits. He calculated that because he was secretly wearing the 5-ton weight vest under his tracksuit, setting the room to double gravity would subject his body to 10 tons of force, a crushing load he could only endure for about 10 minutes. Deciding to pace himself so he could train for a longer period, he adjusted the control dial to 1.5 times normal gravity instead. Instantly, the increased pressure hit him and he grunted as his body strained to brace against the heavy, invisible force. Completely unaware of his hidden 5-ton vest, the crowd outside watched his struggles on the monitor and laughed. They mocked him for barely being able to handle a mere 1.5x gravity without any extra weights, cementing their belief that he was just weak, since he had been the last to finish the entrance assessment. Meanwhile, completely focused on his training, Su Hong sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by a fiery red aura. He realized that while the intense pressure made cultivating his guidance technique significantly more difficult, the high-end facility was doing its job perfectly, as his cultivation speed had drastically accelerated. After enduring the intense pressure for 2 hours, Su Hong remained seated on the floor of the gravity room, cultivating while enveloped in a fierce red aura. Sweating heavily and pushing his limits, he focused on his training while his eyes glowed with a sharp blue light. His strenuous effort yielded significant results when he checked his system panel. He noted with satisfaction that his water, earth, and wind guidance techniques had all leveled up by 1, and his vitality had jumped from 126 to 130 points. Struggling to his feet, he finally turned off the gravity machine. Impressed by the room's effectiveness, he eagerly considered how beneficial the camp's movement technique and ferocious beast rooms would be. Utterly exhausted, he stumbled out of the facility, wiping the thick sweat from his face. Waiting outside, 2 other trainees immediately began to mock him. Still under the false impression that he had been training without weights at a mere 1.5x gravity, they laughed at his worn-out state, with one arrogantly boasting that he could easily sleep overnight in those conditions. Ignoring their baseless taunts, Su Hong simply complained about the boiling heat and terrible breathability of his gear before unzipping his tracksuit, casually revealing the massive 5-ton weight vest he had been wearing the entire time. Seeing the heavy equipment hidden underneath his clothes, the 2 mocking trainees were left completely paralyzed in shock.